Hey guys, Shane here, Pocket Knife Review. Today I want to revisit a disappointment. Um, what I mean by that is a couple years ago when I got into knife collecting in the EDC community, um, as I've talked about before, Jared Neve was a huge influence on me and my knife purchasing decisions. I kind of got his opinion on things before I spent my hard-earned money on them. And this was one of the knives that he highly recommended. The Benchmade Griptilian. He liked it with the hole. I liked it with the hole better too. The sheep's foot blade was much more appealing to me than the drop point standard variation. So I purchased it. And let me start off by saying it was not this knife. I purchased the $130, the bare minimum Griptilian. And guys, my experience was, it was not good. The knife came off-centered. The knife came with horrible gritty action. The knife came with one of the worst ground edges I've ever experienced. It was disappointing. And in the process of trying to correct the action, I backed the pivot screw off a little bit, what I thought was a very minimal amount. And then action improved. It was still gritty, but the blade at least swung free. And I was happy with it for about 2 minutes until, I guess from loosening that pivot screw, I loosened it enough that the Omega spring popped out of the frame and became wedged between the frame and scale, locking the knife up. I was extremely disappointed. I was mad. I kind of even blamed it on Benchmade, even though it was partially my fault. I immediately repackaged the knife and sent it back to Blade HQ, upon which they issued me a full refund. I didn't want another one. But I did, however, want an American-made knife, and I wanted a Benchmade knife, so I left that credit there until I got a few more dollars to go with it. And I bought a Benchmade Freak, standard variation Freak. Upon which time I realized that the action wasn't much better on it. It was gritty. The edge was horrible, once again. But I lived with the action, and it did get better over time without me doing anything to it. The edge, I'd watched enough Outpost 76 to know that most of Benchmade's edges are burnt. So I went ahead and sharpened that knife and removed steel until the S30V started skating on the diamonds. If that ever happens, you'll know it, because it's kind of an ear-piercing sound. It's kind of like fingernails on a chalkboard. I hated it, but it's also a great sound because you know what you're accomplishing when it happens. So anyway, I got a good edge on it, and it was a good knife. I ended up trading the knife for something else, not necessarily something that I wanted, but I've fallen in this trap a lot of times. The guy was I considered a friend. I still do. And he wanted the knife, it seemed like, a little more than I did. So I made a trade with him on a much lesser knife, a much less expensive knife that I will admit I did want, but I didn't want it for the price that I paid for the Benchmade Freak. Anyway, so I made the trade. I still have that knife. Still enjoy it. But I missed my Freak. So I've recently acquired a Benchmade Super Freak. And that's kind of led me to making this video. This knife was loaned to me by JN. Many of you guys in the knife community know JN. He's a great guy. He loaned me this, and immediately upon handling it, I realized that this is a completely different knife. This is not the Griptilian that I bought, that I was disappointed with, that I'd handled in the past. That was very interesting to me because this Super Freak that I have is also not the Benchmade Freak, the standard variant of the Freak that I purchased before either. There are huge differences in these knives. The quality is just much better. What I've come to realize is, after doing a Benchmade bug out review recently, actually it was a comparison to the Hogue Deca. If you haven't seen that, go check that video out. I thought I did a pretty good job on that one. But upon comparing those two, I was fortunate enough to have a standard bug out and then a bug out in titanium scales. Guys, it was like night and day. What I've come to realize is that Benchmade does a really good job building a really good knife. They don't do a super good job of building a budget knife, or what they consider a budget knife. I mean, if you don't think $130 is a budget knife, and I understand that, but it just seems like when they try to make it a little cheaper, make it where more people can afford it, the quality suffers, and therefore your experience with Benchmade may suffer. And that's unfortunate. I understand them trying to, to make a cheaper knife that more people can afford, but it really does lessen the experience because, guys, this knife is so much smoother, and it's just so much a better knife than the Griptilian that I bought. I'm not gonna flick it for you guys because I have a hard time flicking Axis lock knives anyway, especially under a camera. And the same thing with the Super Freak. It's so much a better knife than the standard model Freak. Not just better blade steel, but the action is better and all that stuff. And another thing I've kind of come to think about, everybody I hear complain about Benchmade typically complains about the action. Guys, I don't know that Benchmade ever concentrated on the action. I don't know that it was ever an issue for them. Action has become something that we've all put way too much weight into recently, and to begin with, because even those knives, had I not adjusted and messed up the pivot on that Griptilian, those knives still, with their horrible looking edge, they still cut well, they opened well, they shut well, the lock was safe, it was dependable. There was nothing wrong with those knives. My biggest complaint was the action and the edge. And as I don't care about the factory edge anymore. I just assume them come without the factory edge and let me do it myself because nobody does a great job of it except Hogue. Um, I don't know what made Hogue decide to really concentrate on their out of the box edge, but they're wonderful. In my opinion, nobody in the knife industry does as good a job on the factory edge as Hogue does. So hats off to those guys. But anyway, we were having a conversation in one of the lives tonight. Myself and two or three other gentlemen. A couple of guys were bad-mouthing Benchmade, and you guys know that hurts my feelings. And sometimes I take it a little personal, and it's not because I'm a Benchmade fanboy, guys. I've had issues with Benchmades too. It just hurts my feelings and really saddens me when people are so willing to badmouth an American knife company over petty things such as action, because action is a petty thing in a cutting tool. And then turn around and praise a Chinese counterpart. I take it a little personal, and I try not to let myself get upset about it, and I try not to be rude about it. I try to be as understanding as I can when that happens. Because I've got some Chinese knives that I like too, but I just think it's just of my opinion that if you want to speak highly of a particular knife, then just speak highly of that knife. You don't have to give me an example of an American knife that you hate and why it makes the knife that you purchased better. If the knife that you purchased is good, then be happy that the knife you purchased is good. That's enough said. Benchmade has an excellent warranty. They have good customer service. I called them about that Griptilian, not to get anything done. I called them after I had already received my refund from Bloody Shoot. I just called them and let them know that their QC was a little lacking on that knife. I did admit that I made it worse. But, they were more than willing to take care of the knife if I still had it. That's all I can ask for. And I know this is going to sound dumb to you guys, but hey, I will pay the price. And I will give them 2, 3, 4, 5 chances if I have to get it right. And then if they don't, I'll send it to somebody else to get it right. It's just how I feel. I know some people think that's stupid, because I'm not getting the most value for my dollar. But guys, I've told you where my value lies. It's not in the sum of the parts. It's in the pride of ownership. For me, that's a personal thing with me. It doesn't have to be with you. That's not a put down on you. I don't think any less of you if you don't take pride in that. But I love all you guys, man, and I support any decision y'all make in the knives that you purchase. And I'm fine with it. I just feel a little bad sometimes because when I voice my opinion, people tend to take it as me being aggressive, and they seem to get a little bit defensive, and that's not necessary, guys. If you want to talk about how great your knife is, and I bring up how great my knife is, and yours happens to be from one country and mine happens to be from another, that's not me telling you that my knife's better than yours or any of that, man. Um, I buy knives that make me happy, that make me proud, and I will say that this higher end Griptilian, with the better G10 scales and this 20 CV blade, this is a much better knife than what I purchased. Um, I would have never owned another Griptilian. I would be very interested in owning one now in this variant, just like I'm tickled to death that I now own a Super Freak instead of just a Freak, because this thing to me is right there with the Shaman. This is one of the greatest EDC work knives, hard use knives. This is a one and done knife, guys, and so is this. If you were gonna purchase one knife and use it for the rest of your life, and you asked me would I recommend this, absolutely I would. Would I have recommended the baseline model? No, I would not. So yes, you do have to spend a little more money. It's up to you to decide whether spending that money's worth it or not. Whether that pride in ownership and knowing that you're supporting American workers and putting food on their table, and that's up to you. It means something to me, and I'll pay more for it. And um, you know, if you want to think I'm dumb for doing that or make fun of me for doing that's fine. But that's just how I feel about it. And I just wanted to do this. Like I said, I wanted to revisit a disappointment, and I'm no longer disappointed. I'm extremely impressed with this knife. I'm extremely happy with this knife. I'm very lucky that I had the chance to handle it, and very appreciative to JN for loaning it in to me. And once again, guys, I'd like to thank you for your time. Any time you spend with me is very much appreciated. That's all I got for you tonight. Peace. Love y'all.